transformed. Madam Speaker, I invite all Jamaicans to visualize a scenario within the next 2 to 3 years when all our justice stakeholders will be electronically interconnected. In other words, when John Brown or Mary Jane is charged with a crime, there will be no more movement of paper from police stations to the court. No movement of paper will take place from the forensic lab, the ODPP, the parish court, the Supreme Court, or to the Court of Appeal. Everything moved electronically. Files related to matters in the parish court would seamlessly reach the circuit court. Criminal records will also be integrated as we benefit from the transformational time management and cost-sharing results of digitizing our courts, which is part, Madam Speaker, of our commitment to a stronger justice system. Madam Speaker, the IECMS Integrated Electronic Case Management System digitization model, pioneered by the government of Rwanda, will bolster Jamaica's justice reform efforts and eliminate the outdated paper-based case management system now being used in our Jamaican court. It is anticipated, Madam Speaker, that paper will no longer be a part of our court system, and eventually paper will be eliminated from all courts. Madam Speaker, if anyone should ever visit the courthouses in the parishes, you have room full of paper. In most of the parish courts, all the paper would fill the parliament. We want to get rid of those, digitize them, free up space that people can utilize.
Free up the space, free up the space.
Madam Speaker, the IECMS, with time running, will definitely be a transformation in our court system. So, Madam Speaker, this will mark a new era for court system, since all stakeholders must now embrace modern technology and abandon our outdated paper-based systems. The aim is to make the use of technology in our Jamaican courts a leading model of excellence in the region. I strongly urge all of the persons, including those inside here, who use the court system, go there with your laptop. Go there with a smartphone. Don't bother go there with dockets and files and your bag, your briefcase with everything. Go there with your laptop. Start the process. Madam Speaker, the courts have done extremely well and continue to do extremely well. If you look at the appendix, one in the booklet you have, you will see how well they have done, reducing backlog in the parish courts and improving the service in the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court. The Court Administration Division, we're working very closely with. They were damaged by Hurricane Beryl, but they are now back at their office, and there have been almost 600 new upgraded posts have been approved for them. So, Madam Speaker, a fair amount is being done in the courts.
Yes.
Over the past 10 years, Madam Speaker, we have spent an average of almost $1 billion per year. No other administration, the Andrew Holness-led administration and this Minister of Justice has done more for the judiciary and the court system than any other administration. And if the member from Northeast St. Elizabeth had done her homework, she will see we have improved the Court of Appeal from 7 judges to 13. 28 judges, Supreme Court judges to 42. About 40 parish court judges to about 70. Two or three masters in chambers to about 8. But more important, Madam Speaker, when we came here in 2016, the court was collapsing. The judges, their newspaper reports There are newspaper reports of the judges planning to take the then government to court before them. Because, Madam Speaker, let me emphasize, when we came here in 2016, the judges were the poorest paid in the Caribbean. Within a matter of 5 to 6 years, they became the best paid in the Caribbean. Madam Speaker, and their salary continued to improve. And I can say that in the last 10 years, the judges' salary have more than doubled. So when the member from North East St. Elizabeth can impute that the Ministry of Justice is not a reliable partner, Madam Speaker, the truth of the matter is, I don't know in what context or if it was said that the Chief Justice said so or in what context. There's absolutely no doubt that the vast majority of the courts have improved, but there are still quite a number of them that needs improvement. They're over 100 years. What I can say to you, colleagues, is that the Chief Justice and the Court Administration Division have been meeting with myself and my property teams and the Permanent Secretary because we want to work closer together to make sure that the court's infrastructure can be maintained and continue to improve. You know the truth, Madam Speaker, is that across Jamaica, maintenance is not taken seriously.
No, it's not. That's a fact.
And members may not know, but maintenance is the responsibility of the Chief Justice and the Court Administration Division. The Ministry of Justice is responsible for major projects. Where you draw the line between maintenance and minor projects and major infrastructure, and you talk about money, we have worked with Court Administration Division because we want them to improve. Last year, they got 300 million for maintenance. This year, they're getting 500 million. But you know, Madam Speaker, the problem with maintenance is not only in the courts, it's across all government departments. In 2016, when we came, 2 elevators down at Supreme Court were sputtering. I said, no, you need 2 new elevators. We put in 2 new elevators around 2017. Around 2018, over a year after, I'm down there inspecting the courts, and one of the property managers came, and we were in the elevator, and I said, how is the elevator working? He said, brilliant, fantastic, Minister. So I said, when was it last service? He said, it's not broke down yet, sir. And that is how maintenance is seen. Not preventative maintenance, not regular maintenance, but when it broke down. And I'm saying we are going to be working with the Court Administration Division so that everything is maintained regularly. Court Administration Division, they will tell you, we have put in new air conditions in most courts. They must be serviced at least twice per year. So, Madam Speaker, there's a partnership between the Judiciary, the Court Administration Division, and the Ministry of Justice because we want a strong justice system. Madam Speaker, there's a lot to be said, and I'm watching the time. Social justice services, restorative justice, child diversion, and victim services are major parts of our portfolio. And we have done enormously to help the schools, to help the communities.
Yes.
And I want members to look at the testimonials in the appendices, and you will see how persons who have benefited from child diversion, victim services, restorative justice, mediation, how grateful they are for these services. And these services, Madam Speaker, are basically free. And we have 3 mobile units. If you need legal assistance, we can send it to your community once you book them. Madam Speaker, mediation is a very important part of our push.
Yes.
I applaud the work of the Dispute Resolution Foundation in this regard, since mediation not only resolves conflicts, but helps to improve operational efficiencies in the justice system by reducing some of the backlog in our courts. Last year, Madam Speaker, if you look at the figures again, Appendix 7, we decided to pay mediators, the Ministry of Justice, starting out at $5,000 for each side, so they could get $10,000. Last year, we increased it to $10,000 each side, $20,000 for the mediator. And last year, we moved from $13 million the previous year to $55 million in the last fiscal year. In truth, Madam Speaker, I have no problem encouraging more use of mediation, because when parties get together to mediate, it's a win-win situation. And I would like to say to the member from Northeast St. Elizabeth, I would prefer to spend more money on mediation than to pay lawyers to get into an adversarial contention. I want more lawyers to become mediators and to participate in mediation. In Singapore, the vast majority of attorneys earn more money on mediation than on doing cases in court. And we need to get to that situation where mediation become and resolve 75% or more of our cases. And I must thank the parish court judges and the judges for referring more of these matters. When they come to court, they refer to mediation, and the success rate of our social justice services, including mediation, is over 80%. Madam Speaker, there's so much more to be said, but I can't go through all of it. Madam Speaker, I ask you... No, man, I can't stick there. I say, Madam Speaker, look at the performance and success of the ministry. Look at Appendix 8 and Appendix 9. We won't go through it, but I go to the Administrator General Department. This is one of the success stories of the Ministry of Justice. Files are being dealt with in a speedy manner. It's Appendix 10. The truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, we are working now with the Administrator General's Department to go around the country to urge persons to make a will. Because when they make a will, it prevents a whole heap of problems. The dead left thing is a problem. And not only are we doing that, Madam Speaker, we are encouraging Jamaicans, and I will do so in this Parliament, start practicing estate planning. Put aside a little of the money for a rainy day, and then shift it to your retirement benefit later on. Very important. And as we go across the island, we will team it up with alternative dispute resolution. And many, you will recall, I provided a concept paper on alternative dispute resolution. But this, Madam Speaker, colleagues, is to ensure that persons start taking responsibility for their financial situation. Get into estate planning, make a will, plan for your retirement. Because, Madam Speaker, when you do that, we have less work on the Administrator General. At the moment, Madam Speaker, they have close to $50 billion worth of properties to manage. And most of these properties are deteriorating. It's more important that we try to get it to the beneficiaries. And they have over close to $5 billion, which we really would like to dispose of to the beneficiaries. And we are going around the country on a regular basis, urging beneficiaries to get together, work with the Administrator General. We are going to train some mediators down at the Administrator General Department so they can get persons together to work out and collect the benefits of the deceased estate. So, Madam Speaker, it's very important that we emphasize how important it is for every Jamaican to think about estate planning and making a will and stop the foolishness about it gives a bad omen. We need to get out of that culture. Madam Speaker, the Legal Aid Council has done extremely well. What I can tell you, apart from judgment debt, you remember judgment debt? Yes. When we came to office, everybody was owed money. Nobody has heard for the last 5 years about anybody being owed, because for the last 5 years, we paid all the settled judgment debt. And it is the same, Madam Speaker, with legal aid. When I came to office in 2016, all the lawyers said, beg Mr. Chow, see if you can put some more money so our certificates can be paid. For the last 4 years, we have to be writing lawyers and sending the certificates so we can pay you before the end of the fiscal year. And so every single attorney, if you're owed, if anyone is owed, let me know. Because once you send in your certificates, within days, we pay it. What is more, Madam Speaker, where we pay a flat sum, but if the matters continue longer than 2 weeks, we pay them an increased amount. And we pay them on a proportionate basis continuously. But, Madam Speaker, the member from North East St. Elizabeth once again said, you need do still. No, she knows. No, she knows that we have money to pay all the lawyers in the criminal court. She won't know for civil court. But again, member from North East St. Elizabeth, if you had done your research, you know that we start doing it. We did. This government is a very prudent government. You don't spend money, and you don't know how much will be spent and where it is coming from. So we did 2 pilot projects in St. Anne and Clarendon, and we are working on that basis to see how we roll out civil case matters. Right. Now, what I can say, what I can say is that from over 4 or 5 years ago, we have been in discussion about additional sums to pay in civil cases. But more importantly, Madam Speaker, we were supposed to have 3 legal aid clinics. One of them at Tower Street was being managed by the Kingston Legal Aid Clinic. Unfortunately, it has been taken over by a private practitioner, and so legal aid service is not being provided there. We have been begging this private practitioner to give up the place so we can renovate it and provide civil legal aid cases, and we are hoping it will be done during the course of this year. Madam Speaker, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution is indeed absolutely effective in building a stronger justice system based on the efficient way in which it is handling its portfolio and prosecuting serious crimes. In fact, I've been informed that the office has been invited to assess and assist other countries to share some of their successful swift action models in handling these crimes. These countries are among the 22 countries and jurisdictions on the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF. Madam Speaker, this country should be proud of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. It is working steadfastly to ensure that serious criminals are put to the prisons or that they get their justice. And so, Madam Speaker, if you look at Appendix 12, you will see the performance of the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution. The Office of the Parliamentary Counsel, Madam Speaker, they are the ones who draft the laws. Here again, CPC, Judith Grant and her team, they're doing a fantastic amount of work. And I once again ask you to look at Appendix 13 to see the performance of the OPC. Yes. Then, Madam Speaker, I ask members to look at Appendix 14 at the Justice Training Institute, where we are sensitizing hundreds of JPs and others. It is doing a fantastic job, and it is continues to ensure that court reporters, we have a court reporting work going on now, and court reporters are coming from the rest of the Caribbean to go to study there to become court reporters. So in short order, there will be no shortage of court reporters. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Justice has to deal with marriage licenses. If you want to get married, you have to get a marriage license. You can go to the Ministry of Justice, and within 24 hours, you get your marriage license. You have to find a lady first. and I say, Madam, and I say that these certificates, everything can be done, and it is done within 24 hours. We will be digitizing that service in short order. Madam Speaker, you can look at Appendix 15 and see it. The expungement of criminal records. You will see, Madam Speaker, that in the expungement of criminal records, we widened the act a couple months ago, which allow us now that if you committed a non-custodial offense before 2005, which is an expungible offense, you can get your records expunged. I have to report that tens of thousands of these have been expunged. So members applicants, these ex-offenders, no longer have to apply. If the records show that this non-custodial offense was there, then it should not be on the official criminal records. Oh, 20 minutes. I don't get the 15 minutes in. You lie. No. Madam Speaker, I would only urge persons, we have now increased the number of commissioners on the expungement committee to 9. And they're meeting at least once per week, sometimes twice per week, to get rid of the backlog. We had about 2,000, it's now under 1,000, and we hope in another couple months.
Minister Chuck, I am going to break you, and I'm going to add your additional time because I realize you're rushing as if you do not know that there is additional time.
15 minutes, I am aware.
Right, so we're going to put it on now, Minister Chuck.
I actually need it, Madam Speaker. No. But I would like to urge ex-offenders that don't wait until you're traveling. Don't wait until you need you apply for a new job. If you know you've committed an offense, you can apply and hopefully get the record expunged. Especially those who had drug offenses. You will recall, colleagues, that we remove the drug offenses from the third schedule. And also, if your sentence was more than 5 years, but less than 10 years, you're now eligible for those expungible offenses. Madam Speaker, this Parliament should be proud that we are able to give people a second chance. And Madam Speaker, I am sure many of you who have spoken to me and we have been able to help you, the members are so thankful for getting a second chance. And that is very important for our people. Madam Speaker, I come to Justices of the Peace Services. And last week, Madam Speaker, when the member from North East St. Elizabeth when I was trying, Madam Speaker, I got up to prevent her from misinforming the Parliament. when she got up and said, JP should be paid a stipend. I said, but if you do your research, we have been doing it for the last 3 years. Every JP can now appeal to their JP Parish Association to recover. Can I ask? So to ask for recovery. 1 second. They are not. They are. Every parish.
Minister Chalk.
Every parish.
Minister Chalk.
Every parish.
Minister Chalk.
Now get $1 million.
Minister Chalk.
Annually.
Minister Chalk. Minister Chalk.
So that JPs who serve in the lay magistrates court,
Minister Chalk,
JPs who work with the police, who have to
Member Cuthbert-Finn, could you get Minister Chalk's attention?
Who have to serve, who have to be at the police station.
Minister Chalk, could you be so kind as to take your seat? Sure. Minister Chalk, members on the opposition benches, I would like to hear the minister's presentation. No, I am very serious about it. Minister Chalk. Ms. Brandon, give the minister back his time. Give him back his time. No? Minister Chalk.
I have time.
Minister Chalk. Minister Chalk. Minister Chalk, please take your seat. Members, please take out your standing orders and refer. Please take out your standing orders and refer to standing orders 40 and standing orders 42. Separate and apart from persons asking for intervention, the level of noise is such that I cannot hear the member present at all, which is a requirement of the House rules. She finished. Minister Chalk, I have restored your time. And members, if you continue, then Minister Chalk is going to get even more time to complete his presentation.
No. No. Member, we'll finish in time. We'll finish in time.
Go ahead.
Madam Speaker, no other Minister of Justice has done more for the GPs than this minister. And that is why we have more than doubled the number of GPs in the island. We have monthly sensitization to empower our GPs even more to provide more justice services to the people across the country.
That is a fact.
Madam Speaker, talk about stipend. Any GP who is serving in the courts with the police taking witness statement and they have to spend time, they can collect a stipend.
Yeah,
Can collect.
There's no problem.
But Madam Speaker,
if I don't want it, it's
Madam Speaker, the idea of paying GPs
service.
regularly is out. It won't happen.
It won't happen.
Madam Speaker, the JPs, apart from those services in the courts, spirit license, lay magistrate, children's court, where they can get a stipend, what do?
You all just want to give and give and
They witness identities, they give recommendations, and they witness signatures. Madam Speaker, all of these services that the JPs now provide, the Minister of Religion, a police officer, a principal of a school can provide that service. If these other persons, if we decide to pay JPs, would those other people be entitled to be paid too? You must see, all the JPs that I know, that I have interacted with, they have said that JP service is voluntary. We want to help our people. And those JPs who are charging, they are corrupting the system. They are a part of the corruption of taxi drivers getting more than one license. They used to corrupt the passport, and we want to decommission any of them charging.
Yes.
Because the truth of the matter is, JPs realize, and we must all realize, the biblical maxim, it is more blessed to give than to receive.
Amen. Amen.
And that is what I urge on all the JPs. When you go and you give volunteer service, in the long run, you get a huge amount of blessings. And they're not unhappy to do it. And, Madam Speaker, if the member from Northeast St. Elizabeth had done her homework, she would see that across the Commonwealth, Canada, Australia, across the Commonwealth that has JPs, it's a voluntary service. Only in one province in Canada, Saskatchewan, where some JPs are employed and they are paid differently. And not only that, Madam Speaker, JPs can also be trained as mediators, restorative justice facilitators, and they can get a stipend when they participate in restorative justice and also mediation. And I encourage JPs to do that.
Yes.
So please, member from Northeast St. Elizabeth. Well, you know, I must tell you the truth. I really felt sorry for you. Because when you were talking, it's clear you did not. It is clear you did not have much in the justice sector to criticize. So you went all over the place, including the Firearms Act, which is in the Ministry of National Security, including talking about, arresting the powers of police. So I was really sorry for you that you had to go all over the place instead of sticking to justice matters. Madam Speaker, during the course of last year, we commissioned 28 new notary publics, and they have now 130. Madam Speaker, that is in Appendix 18.
Yes.
If you look at Appendix 19, you will see the amount of money we have been spending on infrastructure.
Yes.
And Madam Speaker, it is the same with information and communication technology. Look at Appendix 20 and you see what we have done.
Yes.
But I want to touch on another item, constitutional reform.
Yes.
Human rights. Madam Speaker, Jamaica's constitution is the supreme law, guaranteeing freedom, rights and privileges to all Jamaicans. It is the cornerstone of an efficient, accessible and stronger justice system.
Yes.
Let me pause here to recognize and thank the former Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs, MP Marlene Malahoo Fort, who along with then Permanent Secretary Wayne Robertson and team and Lieutenant Rocky Mead held several town hall meetings and provided Parliament with a well-documented report by the Constitutional Reform Committee. Madam Speaker, the Constitution Amendment Republic Bill 2024 was already tabled to remove the monarch. Once again, Madam Speaker, for Jamaica's sake, let us look at the bill and see how it can be amended if necessary and modified so that this Parliament, at the earliest possible time, can debate and remove the monarch. We need to become a republic. There is no need to delay this process. The final appellate court will come to Jamaica, but it is a matter that we want to take to the people in further constitutional town hall meetings.
Yes.
You see, Madam Speaker, the final appellate court has many possibilities. We can go the route of Hong Kong, where the final appellate court consists of international judges and Hong Kong judges, and they sit as the final appellate court. I don't mind if the final appellate court in Jamaica, the 5 Caribbean court judges sit, but it must be a Jamaican final court. This CCJ, and what is behind it was well put by Sherrod Ramphal, where he said that the CCJ is the beginning to reintegrate the Caribbean. Is that what we want? We need to discuss it at town hall meetings. Is that what we want? A Caribbean Union? That CARICOM, no problem. But we don't have a Caribbean legal system. And I would like to be able to elaborate on this at town hall meetings. So, Madam Speaker, I urge, and this Parliament must urge and invite the opposition leader to let us restart the constitutional process.
Yes.
Now, Madam Speaker, we can do a fair amount of piecemeal, putting in the Electoral Commissioner of Jamaica as a part of it, the public defender, and other pieces. But without the consensus of this Parliament, it doesn't make sense. But if we're not going to go and do a process, we may well have to do it, because we have bills there to put in the Electoral Commission and the public defender as a part of the Constitution. But we want it to be a consensus of this Parliament.
Amen.
I urge, talk to the leader of the opposition all the way over there, and let's get on with the job. In the meantime, Madam Speaker, we have continued the strategic and targeted public education program on the Constitution. As part of our sustained legal education efforts, we distributed more than 400 Jamaican-branded consolidated copies of the Constitution, and I know my Minister of State was at UTEC, UWI, distributing Constitution and engaging in public education. Madam Speaker, we look forward to a renewed effort to get our Constitution reflecting what we want. Now, Madam Speaker, human rights is a very important part of this government and of this minister.
Yes.
And as I go across the country, I promote the respect for one another's human rights.
Yes. Yes.
And I will continue to do it. I can tell you that when we reported to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights and the Universal Periodic Review, we got very good commendation.
Yes.
Jamaica does not, and I hope will never have, a human rights problem.
Yeah.
We have the Office of the Public Defender. If you have a difficulty, you can go to the Office of the Public Defender and prosecute any human rights breach. They are empowered to prosecute any human rights breach. Madam Speaker, we are engaged in a number of departments which I will not go through, but if you look at Appendix 23, you will see the Law Revision Secretariat. You will see what we have done on human rights, Appendix 22. Legal education, we have had several sensitization programs with judges, clerks of courts, GPs, and so on. Madam Speaker, I must conclude. We close this 2026 sectoral presentation with a clarion call to our justice stakeholders and all Jamaicans to help sustain our efforts of building a stronger justice system.
Yes.
Inspired by NARA's vision of fast-track project delivery,
Yes.
we look forward to constructing new courts and renovating damaged justice facilities.
Yes.
We will adopt climate-resilient and modern engineering standards, as well as public-private partnerships to meet our infrastructure goals.
Yes.
The implementation of the paperless, integrated electronic case management system, the IECMS, will further bolster our efforts at digital transformation in the Jamaican courts and strengthen the wider justice system.
Hear, hear.
Madam Speaker, this sectoral presentation has once again highlighted and promoted a range of conflict resolution tools as our free and accessible island-wide social justice programs in restorative justice, child diversion, victim services, mediation, etc. Our financing of the win-win mediation services is intended to result in a more peaceful and harmonious Jamaica.
Yeah.
Our recently launched island-wide forum, an alternative dispute resolution, ADR, will continue to be paired with estate management and planning guidelines as we aim to reduce deadlift-related incidents of violence within families. Madam Speaker, let me say I'm proud to be a part of this Andrew Holness-led cabinet. Everything that I've asked for to uplift and build a strong justice system, the ministers of finance from Audley Shaw, Nigel Clark, and now Favour Williams, we get. The only thing stopping us in terms of money is the procurement thing. And we have to overcome this procurement thing. Because we have the funds are available. The funds are available, but procurement frequently we can't get the courts built. Madam Speaker, this administration has ensured that anyone who said we want justice need their head examined. Because you can get justice. And let me remind you of the number. 888 Justice, 587-8423. Call and they will help you to get justice. So, Madam Speaker, I want to say that the strong support of my colleagues have ensured that this is a proud Justice Minister. And I call on all parliamentarians, let us help our fellow Jamaicans to live peacefully and harmoniously. Indeed, I will be soon with a member from North East St. Elizabeth to say how best she can help. So finally, Madam Speaker, our 2025-26 achievements chronicled in this sectoral presentation, including major justice reform initiatives such as changes to Jamaica's expungement framework and its positive impact on hundreds of Jamaican lives. We anticipate similar success stories and our constitutional reform initiatives, which will undoubtedly contribute to building a stronger justice system for Jamaica. Madam Speaker, colleagues,
Yes.
I say blessings to all Jamaicans.
Blessings. No gesturing.
And may God bless all of us.
No.
Thank you.
No gesturing. No gesturing. He said you give him everything you want.
What do you want?
Delroy.
House Leader. House Leader. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, after such an exceptional presentation by the best Justice Minister that this country has seen, we will gesture no longer. And we will move to the presentation. We will move to the presentation from a wonderful Member of Parliament. Member of Parliament for St. Catherine, North Central.
Madam Speaker, I rise to make my 19th presentation in these annual sectoral debates.
Member, permission to
Gratitude.
speak from a seat other than your own.
Oh, Madam Speaker, kindly asking you for your permission to speak from a seat other than my own.
Permission granted.
Thank you. Gratitude to God prevails. Appreciative of the support of family, headed by my husband, Marlon Garvey. You are truly the wind beneath my wings. Blessed by the unconditional love of my daughter, Morgan. Who celebrates her birthday today. And the remarkable love of a mother who has given 3 decades of service to the United Nations and who has forged in us an appreciation for peoples and cultures across nations, and a deep awareness of the value of democracy. Your 84 years on this world is value to us all. Thanks to my 4 councillors, Denise Murphy-Bramwell, Patricia Harris, Dwight Burke, and Desmond Chambers, for the hard way. To my constituents, for their unwavering support over 5 consecutive terms. To the student leaders of Dintil Technical High School, one of the finest institutions in our country. And for the full solidarity of my colleague parliamentarians, headed by the Leader of Opposition, Mr. Mark Jefferson Gordon. I associate my colleagues opposite in the same sentence because you've also become part of my family. I I want to take this opportunity to extend my condolences to member Malahoo Fort, who lost her husband recently. I understand grief, and today I pray for God's comfort on her and her family. The work of the members of Parliament is never done, whether through the falling rain or the extensive drought. Consequently, I must say thanks to my personal staff, my security, my team at the office, my constituency team, my colleagues in local government, because I also served almost a decade as a councillor myself. I'm indebted to all of you, and please know that I appreciate the work of every individual. From solid waste management to road repairs, local water systems, markets, building permits, municipal infrastructure to community participation, our local government is at the heart of everyday life. Its proper place is the backbone, not the background of Jamaican life. Madam Speaker, we have been at reform process for over a quarter of a century, and time come to deliver real results to the people. There are moments in life, the life of a nation, when reform is no longer optional, when adjustment is no longer adequate, and when reimagination itself becomes a duty. This is such a moment. Today I rise not merely to speak about local government administration. I rise to speak about national renewal and to urge a fast tracking of its incomplete agenda of reform. For too long in Jamaica, we have misunderstood local government. We have treated it as an afterthought, an appendage to central government, a reluctant administrative cousin summoned occasionally to clean drains, patch roads, trim verges, and bury our dead. We have mistaken local government for local housekeeping. Yet, in the great democracies of the world, local government is something far greater. It is government closest to the citizens. It is democracy made visible. It is service delivery made immediate. It is development made personal. And perhaps most importantly, it is where ordinary citizens that encounter the competence, compassion, or failure of a state. When a market is unsafe, when garbage is not collected, when flood mitigation fails, when roads collapse, when permits disappear into bureaucratic limbo, when public spaces decay, citizens do not experience abstract policy failure. They experience government failure. Madam Speaker, Jamaica stands at an uncomfortable crossroads. Over 30 years, the reforms of the early 90s inspired hope. We were promised a transformed local government system, a modern architecture of democratic participation, greater autonomy, better services, stronger accountability, institutions responsive to communities rather than distant ministries. It was, in many respects, a noble ambition, but patriotism requires honesty. The dream of 1992 has not lived up to expectations. The truth must be spoken plainly in this honorable house. Our municipalities remain financially weak. Our local authorities remain administratively constrained. Decision-making remains excessively centralized. Citizen confidence remains fragile. Innovation remains sporadic. And in too many communities, local governments survives not as a strategic engine of development, but as an exhausted mechanism of maintenance which is not up to scratch. We cannot reform what we refuse to diagnose. And diagnosis begins with candor. Too often governments have spoken proudly of decentralization when we know we are practicing the very opposite. Yes. We are hoarding authority. Absolutely. Too often local government has been praised ceremonially while neglected institutionally. Exactly. Madam Speaker, one could be forgiven for concluding that in Jamaica we support local government in the same way some people like me support exercise. Passionate in theory, inconsistent in practice. A few murmurs of agreement and a burst of enthusiasm in a January New Year resolution. Then a rapid return to the old habits as the year progresses. That is the reality. A nation aspiring to first world standards cannot sustain third world systems of local administration. We speak proudly about becoming the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. But greatness is not built exclusively in ministries in Kingston. No, sir. Greatness is built in communities, yes, in parishes, yes, built where the people live. And therefore, local government is not peripheral to development. It is development. It is. Madam Speaker, if Jamaica is to compete in the 21st century, we must stop governing communities as if efficiency, responsiveness, transparency, and innovation are luxuries. Yeah. They are necessities. Yes. When one studies the most successful jurisdiction in the world, we encounter a consistent lesson. Whether in Singapore, in Denmark, in Canada, or highly effective municipal systems in parts of the United Kingdom, local government is treated as not as democratic bureaucracy. Exactly. It is empowered. Yeah. It is resourced, yes, properly. It is professionalized. Yes. It is digitized. Yes. It is measured and it is trusted. Yes. Citizens in those jurisdictions do not want to wait months to know whether a permit is approved. They do not want to go from office to office, yes, seeking signatures like pilgrims in search of revelation. They do not want to endure endless procedural uncertainty while systems apologize for inefficiency and call it patience. Yes. Madam Speaker, the Jamaican people deserve better. Of course. And the truth is, they are ready for better. Right. The local government system cannot be a timid improvement upon yesterday. It must be transformational. So what then is the vision? It is a Jamaica where local government is competent, accountable, technologically advanced, financially empowered, and genuinely democratic. A Jamaica where municipal offices become centers of problem solving rather than monuments to bureaucracy. Yes. It must create a Jamaica where communities shape priorities instead of merely reacting to neglect. A Jamaica where local authorities are judged not by excuses, but by outcomes. Yeah. A Jamaica where every citizen, whether in the urban centers of Spanish Town or the rural districts of Sligoville, experience governance that is visible, efficient, and dignified. We seek a second generation of local government reform. The unfinished promise of 1992 must now become the realized ambition of the 2030s. The vision is not partisan. Yes. Because, Madam Speaker, garbage does not ask who you vote for. Street lights, if you can't get any. Don't ask which side of the fence you're upon. Floodwaters do not pause for political affiliation. And broken roads inconvenience every ideology. Yes. Competent local governance benefits everyone. Everybody. Madam Speaker, there have been improvements. Minister, there have been some improvements, but not enough. Governance cannot be measured solely by announcements, ceremonies, and ribbon cutting. No, sir. Competence is measurable. Yes. Performance is measurable. Yes. And delivery of services is measurable. Let us look at solid waste management and the creation of the National Solid Waste Management Authority. The dream was for better standards and more efficient management. That is fading fast. The objective of the Act is not even being observed. No, sir. Because the NSWA is yet to be structured according to the Act and is not functioning as a regulatory body. The government maintains it as an operating entity and has invested in more trucks, yet the system gets worse. Irregular garbage collection is now the #1 complaint of every citizen in every parish, whether in urban centers or rural communities. There are some communities which have never seen a garbage truck, ever. Yes, yes, we have only. So what do we expect? The inadequate field is improperly maintained, and every audit raises fundamental management questions. It seems a personality cult, no rules, and people's jobs are terminated on spurious grounds, such as one single person losing confidence in professional staff without explanation to the public. This is done at great expense to the taxpayer, totaling tens of millions of dollars. Solid waste services must improve because it's not cheap. The cost of solid waste management services in 26-27 estimates of expenditure is $8.5 billion, down from $9.7 billion over last year. In 2 years, it will cost taxpayers over $18 billion for garbage collection and disposal. And yet, the people are complaining about the delivery of service and the risk of disease outbreak. We only have mini dumps, Madam Speaker, because people are not getting garbage collection on time. They can't have the garbage at home, so they have to find a way to dispose of it. We don't want them to burn it either, because we must protect our environment. Madam Speaker, the people are also asking, why does local government continue to depend disproportionately on ministerial permission? This was a key issue in the reform, hence the establishment of the Parochial Revenue Fund and the passage of the 3 acts in Parliament. These are not opposition questions. These are Jamaican questions. And therefore, Madam Speaker, we must revisit the 1992 dream, now threatening to become a nightmare. The 3 critical laws passed in 2016 as a framework of the new governance arrangements cannot even benefit the system because no regulations have been brought to this honourable House. This government has no excuses. You have been here for 10 years. The government came last week and you promised a new building act. while we still await the regulations of 10 years ago? What about other agreed reforms, including directly elected executive mayors, financial reform, and genuine municipal empowerment? What about accountability and measurable performance? Local government in Jamaica cannot continue to operate as if modernity is a visitor rather than a permanent resident. Excellence requires courage. Courage to confront failure. Courage to abandon complacency. And the courage to modernize and to reimagine. Central government must cease treating municipal corporations as institutions permanently awaiting permission to function. We must instead build a modern fiscal program for MCs to get on with the business of running their municipalities and implementing basic tasks such as drain cleaning without waiting for a handout of municipal permission. Minister, the $300,000 you announced to give councillors is an insult to them, Minister. And you were a mayor, good mayor. And me know you know, say, we need more money in local government. We need to stop giving councillors basket to carry water. Madam Speaker, municipalities have been experiencing ad hoc delivery of parochial revenue funds or permission to use their SGRs, even after documentation is completed. This has resulted in many parishes not being able to carry out their program of work. And we saw it as they hurriedly tried to clean drains when Melissa was already here. Madam Speaker, our local financing architecture remains too narrow. Municipal corporations depend excessively on constrained revenue channels while operating within expanding expectations. This is unsustainable. We must modernize revenue administration through technology, compliance reform, and diversified local income mechanisms. Property tax administration must become smarter, more transparent, and more efficient. Citizens deserve fairness, but fairness includes compliance. We cannot sustain public expectations while tolerating chronic leakage. Technology can help dramatically. Digital property databases, GIS mapping systems, integrated billing platforms, real-time compliance tracking, automated payment systems, and predictive revenue planning. Madam Speaker, municipalities should benefit more meaningfully from economic growth occurring within their jurisdictions. Too often communities host economic activity while local institutions remain fiscally constrained. A modern local government model should permit structured revenue sharing arrangements linked to measurable outcomes. Measurable outcomes like growth in tourism, commercial expansion, industrial activity.
Member, take a seat. The Speaker, while listening to the member, is resolving an issue as it relates to sectoral debates. Because we are out of time. We are out of time. Member, continue.
She does it every
I'm back to the second point. Municipalities should benefit more. Madam Speaker, on point number 2, municipalities should benefit more meaningfully from economic growth occurring within their jurisdictions. Too often, communities host economic activity while local institutions remain fiscally constrained. A modern local government model should permit structured revenue sharing arrangements linked to measurable outcomes, to the growth in tourism, the commercial expansions, the industrial activity, real estate development, special economic zones, and major transport infrastructure. Local government should have stronger developmental incentives. When communities thrive economically, municipalities should gain institutional capacity to reinvest. Number 3, performance must matter, resources matter, and the outcomes matter as well. Municipal corporations that demonstrate measurable improvements in governance indicators should receive performance-linked incentives. These measurements could include faster permit turnaround, improved sanitation metrics, infrastructure maintenance targets, budget transparency, procurement efficiency, and citizen participation. Reward effectiveness and efficiency. For far too long in Jamaica, public systems sometimes appear to reward endurance rather than their excellence. We must change that culture, Madam Speaker. A high-performing municipality should not be treated identically to a chronic underperforming one because incentives shape behavior. Number 4, municipal empowerment does not mean financial recklessness. No one is advocating for uncontrolled borrowing or municipal debt crisis. But responsible nations allow competent municipalities structured pathways to finance transformational infrastructure. Their markets, the transportation hubs, the waste management facilities, the green public spaces, the public parking systems, properly governed municipal financing frameworks, infrastructure partnerships, and other development financing mechanisms deserve serious examination. Otherwise, what is the purpose of this reform? Madam Speaker, one of the most corrosive features of under-empowered local government is institutional dependency. The psychology of dependency has become embedded, and dependency weakens innovation. Local government cannot exist merely to request assistance. It must solve problems, lead, innovate, and deliver. Mayors and municipalities should be constantly asking, how do we improve outcomes, not how do we secure the minister's permission. Madam Speaker, this issue is larger than any particular administration. It concerns integrity, dignity, institutional dignity, and community dignity. When local government fails, community sees it as neglect. Mediocrity becomes tolerated and hope is extinguished. Number 6, Madam Speaker, local government cannot merely maintain roads and collect garbage. Cannot just maintain markets and cemeteries. The future of municipal leadership is rooted in economic development of our parishes to support rural and urban life. Parish development committees need to be restructured and given new mandates. Unfortunately, this is not an area which this present administration takes seriously. The minister hardly ever gives any support. None at all, very little. to parish economic development committees, both in policy and in practice. Their new mandate should include driving investment, coordinating business facilitation, supporting entrepreneurship, promoting local cultural industries, marketing parish competitiveness, and helping to fast-track parish projects. Madam Speaker, Jamaica is not short on intelligence. We're not short on talent. But one of the great things about Jamaica is that each parish has its own unique economic potential. The challenge is converting those advantages into real benefits to improve the lives of our people, especially in rural communities. We should be talking about which parishes attract the fastest business approvals, which expands youth employment, which vitalizes urban centers, which delivers cleaner public spaces. Jamaica desperately needs higher standards. We need to get local government out of the practice of arriving at the dinner table after the meal has been eaten. In Jamaica, if Jamaica is serious about a Millennium Development Goal achievement, especially becoming the place of choice to live, then the municipal capacity must be transformed and funded accordingly. Money alone can't modernize that. Which is why our next reform pillar concerns something transformational. The digitization of local government and the creation of smart, citizen-centered municipal services. If local government in Jamaica is to become world-class, it cannot merely think differently, it must operate differently. The 21st century citizen increasingly encounters a 20th century bureaucracy. That contradiction frustrates progress. We live in an age when Jamaicans can transfer funds instantly, speak face-to-face across continents, access information in seconds, and conduct sophisticated commercial transactions from mobile devices. Yet too often, a citizen seeking municipal approval encounters uncertainty, paper dependency, fragmented communication, or administrative silence. Madam Speaker, bureaucracy should not feel like archaeology. Citizens should not have to excavate information. They should not have to wander from office to office searching for updates as though governance is a scavenger hunt. Modern government must become visible, trackable, transparent, and responsive. This requires nothing less than a national program of municipal digitization. Madam Speaker, I therefore propose the creation of a Smart Jamaica, Smart Municipal Jamaica initiative. Not an acronym, simply a design to transform every municipal corporation into a digitally capable, citizen-centered institution. It means citizens should be able to apply for permits, licenses, and municipal approvals online.
2026 after all.
They should be able to track applications in real time, receive predictable timelines, escalate unresolved delays, pay fees digitally, access service requests through unified platforms, receive updates automatically, rate service, let me say that one again, rate service experiences, monitor infrastructure projects, participate in consultation, and to access municipal information transparently. Madam Speaker, it's not a dream. Systems exist, and we can no longer delay this modernization through the application of digital technology. Madam Speaker, Jamaica must create a unified digital ecosystem connecting municipal corporations across Jamaica. Yes. A common platform, integrated standards, shared technology, interoperable systems, one citizen portal, one municipal identity framework, one national standard of responsiveness. Digitization must move beyond paperwork. It must be support resilience. It must know when gullies are blocked, which shelters are not working or resourced, which communities face elevated flood risk, where illegal dumping is occurred. Madam Speaker, technology should help save money, but most importantly, it should help save communities. Madam Speaker, the issue of community engagement and citizen participation in governance is one of the great concerns. Some ministries and agencies do consult, but it is not a part of our governance culture. Perhaps it is because the SDC really isn't doing what the SDC was mandated to do. It was created with an ambitious mandate to reorganize communities, to build local leadership, strengthen civil participation, and to act as a bridge between citizen and the state. In principle, it should be one of Jamaica's most important institutions to facilitate grassroots democracy and community development. Instead, it has become an organization which needs a facelift and to be reimagined. Madam Speaker, I see the time, and I heard your threats, and so I am going to conclude. I am going to conclude because I'm a disciplined member of Parliament.
I should not make no time.
Madam Speaker, the task before us is not merely how we repair and reform local government. The question is, what kind of Jamaica do we wish to build? Do we accept a system in which citizens are too often spectators, consulted only at election time, and then left to navigate failing systems and failing services, inadequate local planning, neglected communities, and decisions made far from the people they affect? Or do we choose a Jamaica where governance is brought closer to the people, where communities have a voice, local institutions have strength, and democracy is lived every day, not every 5 years? The proposal...
Hold on. You're not on mic, member. So you still like how you tell me you're a disciplined member of Parliament? Anyways. No, it's okay. I'm going to give you the time to wrap up. Give you the time. Anyways, I'm giving you the time to wrap up, member. But you see, because you announced how you're a disciplined member of Parliament, it looks like you don't want any time extra at all. All right, go ahead, member.
The proposals advanced here today, Madam Speaker, are not abstract theories. They are practical, achievable, and rooted in a simple democratic principle. The people of Jamaica deserve a government that listens, responds, and delivers, beginning where life is lived. In our communities, in our districts, in our towns. For too long, local government has been treated as the forgotten arm of governance, expected to do more with less, burdened with responsibilities but denied sufficient authority, expected to expedite and inspire confidence while starved of modern systems, resources, and public trust. Yet across the world, the strongest democracies teach us a powerful lessons. Nations thrive when local government thrives. Prosperous countries are built not only from strong central governments, but from capable local institutions that solve problems quickly, involve citizens meaningfully, and create a culture of shared responsibility. Imagine a Jamaica where every citizen can digitally engage with their municipal corporation.
All right, member.
Track projects in real time.
Member, your extra
and
minute and a half is finished,
in
so wrap up.
budgeting. Imagine the local authorities, neighborhood councils, youth advisory structures, citizens' assemblies, and transparent decision-making processes. Jamaicans have never lacked talent. And so today, we are saying to you, the dream of local government reform envisioned decades ago remains unfinished business. But unfinished business is not necessarily failed business unless we abandon the courage to complete it. So let this Parliament resolve that the next chapter of Jamaica's democratic journey will not be one of over-centralization, delay and exclusion, but one of participation, accountability, innovation, and local pride. Let us build communities where citizens are not petitioners to power, but partners in government. Let us create municipal institutions worthy of public confidence.
All right. You can't say I'm unreasonable. All right, member Nita, that's it. You know how long I've been giving you the last paragraph?
Let us finally bring government closer to the governed. When citizens participate, democracy deepens. When communities are empowered, nations prosper. And when local government works, Jamaica works. God bless Jamaica. God bless the
House Leader.
Madam Speaker, let me thank the member from St. Catherine, North Central. I really hope the municipal corporations, especially those in Westmoreland, Manchester, St. Catherine, were paying, can you allow me? Were paying keen attention to what you have put forward. And we commend you on a solid presentation. Madam Speaker, I ask for the recommittal of, I ask for the suspension of the standing orders, suspension of the sectoral debates, and the recommittal of the agenda. In notices. I've got notices.
House, the question is that we suspend the sectoral debates to continue at the next sitting. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. We are also putting the question to the House to recommit from statement by Minister to go through the agenda items that we need to for today's sitting. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. Statement by Minister.
Madam Speaker, today we will have a statement by the Minister of Transport, Telecommunications and Energy, the Honourable Darrell Vaz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, members of this Honourable House. I wish to provide an update regarding the JPS license negotiation and the findings contained in the preliminary report submitted by the Jamaica Public Service Company Limited on the All-Island power outage that occurred on June 5th, 2026. Madam Speaker, the government has reviewed the current JPS license and identified significant shortcomings, including high electricity costs, inadequate provisions for system resilience, high losses passed on to the consumers, slow renewable energy integration, weak efficiency incentives, and limited opportunities for competition. To address these issues, the government has adopted a two-track approach. The first track involves negotiating a new license with JPS that aligns with the national energy objectives and delivers better outcome for the consumers. And the second track prepares alternative ownership arrangements should negotiations not produce a satisfactory result, ensuring continuity of service and protection of the public interests. The government's broader goal is to reform the electricity sector by increasing accountability, improving affordability and resilience, promoting competition, and preventing the re-emergence of an entrenched monopoly. An electricity license negotiating team comprises representatives of my ministry, the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, the Attorney General's Chambers, the Consumer Advisory Committee on Utilities, local energy specialists, and international technical, legal, and financial consultants have been established to assist in guiding the process. Discussions with the JPS are underway, and the necessary legal, policy, and stakeholder consultation processes are progressing. The Green Paper remains on track for the completion in July, with Cabinet submission expected later that month. Madam Speaker, I remind the country that the current license expires in July 2027. And therefore, the government is very, very cognizant of that and also mindful of the possibility of running the clock, which is something that we are not going to accept. The government remains committed to creating an electricity sector that is more affordable, reliable, resilient, competitive, and responsive to the needs of the Jamaican consumers and businesses while supporting national development and economic growth. Madam Speaker, I commit, as I have done before, to keep the Parliament and the country abreast of the negotiations and, of course, obviously, to make sure that the country is fully apprised as the process continues. Madam Speaker, first and foremost, I acknowledge the significant inconvenience, disruption, and uncertainty experienced by households, businesses, public institutions, and essential services across Jamaica. An outage of the magnitude of that experience on June 5th is downright unacceptable. And I fully understand the frustration felt by Jamaicans who were affected, especially in light of the fact that this has been going on for 20 years. Not to mention the fact that significant losses were obtained, and there is nothing in the current act for any compensation for those persons, small and large, who were affected by the activities, or their activities were affected by the All-Island power cut. I want to acknowledge the JPS CEO and the technical team who worked tirelessly to restore electricity to communities across the island. Their efforts helped the recovery process and minimize what could have been a far longer period of disruption. And as we know, the history of blackouts could be longer and the misery index soaring. According to the summarized version of the 38-page report, as the JPS report that I have received, at approximately 9:02 p.m. on June 5th, JPS experienced a total all-island power system outage. The event was initiated within the corporate area during a period of inclement weather accompanied by lightning activity. While the report outlines the sequence of events that led to the system shutdown, I must emphasize that the root cause of the outage has not yet been conclusively determined. Investigations and technical analysis remain ongoing to establish with certainty the factors that triggered the collapse of the national grid. The report also provides details regarding the incident, the operational response undertaken by JPS, the restoration process, and a series of recommendations and follow-up actions aimed at strengthening the resilience and reliability of Jamaica's electricity network. I have reviewed the report and have requested that the investigation continue until all outstanding questions are answered. The Jamaican people deserve a complete understanding of what occurred and the assurance that every reasonable measure is being taken to prevent a reoccurrence. While restoration has been completed, the government and the JPS work is not finished. The government's responsibility extends beyond restoring power. We must determine exactly what happened, why it happened, and what measures are required to prevent a reoccurrence, especially in light of the fact that we have had several of these over the last 20 years. That is a standard I expect from all entities operating within the energy sector and any sectors of my portfolio. Last Friday's island-wide power outage is not an experience that I as minister would ever wish to see repeated during my tenure or any other ministers or government. Quite frankly, as I said before, it is unacceptable in 2026. What concerns me even more is that many of the issues identified in the preliminary report bear similarities to challenges that have been raised before. Jamaicans have a right to ask whether enough has been changed regarding system reliability and resilience, and we simply cannot continue with the same old approach to system failures and expect different outcomes. JPS shutdown history in the years previous are as follows. July 15, 2006, failure of distant relays to operate the Duncan substation following a lightning strike to the Duncan's Bogue 130 kV transmission line. July 3, 2007, due to non-clearance of a fault on lightning arresters for generator number 2 step-up transformer at Old Harbour, where one pole of the 138 kV circuit breaker in the switchyard failed to open properly. January 9, 2008, again due to non-clearance of a fault on the Doheny Tredegar 138 kV transmission line at the Tredegar, and after a wooden transmission support pole fell to the ground. August 5, 2012, again due to non-clearance of a fault on the Doheny Nagas Head 69 kV transmission line at the Doheny end at pole number 1. And August 27th, 2016, due to non-clearance of a fault at the Port Authority of Jamaica substation 69 kV transmission line. Madam Speaker, the first 3 incidents have been the subject of OUR inquiries, which set out various recommendations to be implemented by JPS. I have made it clear to the JPS that this incident cannot simply become another report on a shelf. The recommendations and the corrective actions arising from this event must be treated with urgency. Jamaica's electricity system must be strengthened to better withstand operational challenges, severe weather events, and any other risks that could threaten grid stability. The Jamaican people deserve a modern, reliable, and resilient electricity network. They deserve confidence that when lessons are identified, they are acted upon. That is a standard that I intend to uphold. Madam Speaker, as stated before, this entire scenario in the year 2026 is completely unacceptable. It seems like to be the same old, same old. Nothing has changed regarding the system failure all-island power outages due to non-clearance. That cannot be an issue that we are grappling with 20 years later, despite a newer grid and advancing in technology over the past 2 decades. As indicated by the JPS, the sequence of trips and system behavior strongly suggests a failure or delayed operation of the primary protection scheme at Hunts Bay on the Rockport line, pending further analysis. This appears to have resulted in a longer fault duration, escalation of disturbance, and a wider system instability. Additionally, the JPS has noted that the environmental conditions, heavy rainfall and lightning, contributed to increased transient faults on the transmission and distribution system in the hours leading up to the event. Following the shutdown, the JPS activated its incident command structure and commenced restoration using a controlled black start and system build-up approach, initially isolating the affected corporate area assets. Restoration proceeded through the establishment of separate electrical islands, notably the Bogue Electrical Island, which provided early supply to Western Jamaica customers, and that was established at 10:01 p.m. And a Central Electrical Island was established at 10:18 p.m., supplying customers in that region. And independent restoration efforts in the corporate and central areas, a secondary system setback occurred at approximately 11:54 p.m. during the delicate generation load balancing, resulting in the loss of the central and corporate area electrical islands, while the Bogue Island remained operational. This event is reflected in the observed dip in load restoration. The restoration process regained momentum following stabilization of generation resources, synchronization of the Western and Eastern electrical island at approximately 3:14 a.m., which enabled improved
House Leader.
House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I'm asking that you allow the member sufficient time to complete his presentation.
Question is that the Minister be allowed sufficient time to complete statement by Minister. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? Ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Synchronization of the Western and Eastern electrical islands at approximately 3:14 a.m., which enabled improved system strength and interconnection flexibility. Thereafter, the system experienced accelerated restoration of customers and load, with full restoration of the grid completed by 6:34 a.m. on Saturday, June 6, 2026. While we are grateful that power was restored to customers within a relatively short period, the incident serves as a reminder that Jamaica cannot afford to return to the days when widespread outages and system instability were accepted as a normal part of life. We have made significant progress over the years in improving electricity service. The preliminary findings indicated that a grid shutdown was initiated by the loss of multiple transmission lines at a time when there was heavy rain and lightning. Additionally, initial investigations suggest a possible misoperation of the primary protection scheme associated with the Hunts Bay-Rockfort line. It is also noted that the scheme operated correctly multiple times in the adverse weather conditions prior to this event. These factors collectively contributed to the prolonged fault conditions, cascading generator trips, and ultimately system-wide instability and shutdown. Despite the event and our initial investigations, there are no immediate concerns for grid stability following this event and the operational measures taken. JPS has noted that the system integrity and protection will see a continued detailed analysis of relay operations and a SOE data across all affected substations, inspection and repair of all affected transmission assets, including insulators and conductors on the Hunts Bay-Rockfort and Hunts Bay-Port Authority lines, comprehensive review and validation of line protection schemes with particular focus on the Hunts Bay-Rockfort corridor, removal of the Hunts Bay-Rockfort 69 kV transmission line from service on June 8, 2026, pending completion of full integrity checks and validation of associated protection systems. Ongoing investigations will determine the root cause of the protection system performance issue. JPS will submit a comprehensive final report to OUR, to the Offices of Utilities Regulation, OUR, in accordance with the Electricity Act 2025. The June 5th island-wide blackout has also reignited important discussions regarding accountability, consumer protection, and a regulatory framework governing Jamaica's electricity sector. I have consistently maintained that where business and Jamaicans have suffered demonstrable losses because of an outage of this magnitude, the issue of compensation must be seriously addressed and considered by the Jamaica Public Service Company. The incident has further strengthened my resolve to pursue a review of both the Electricity Act and the Office of the Utility Regulations Act to ensure that legislative and regulatory framework is fit for purpose, provides stronger protection for consumers, and equips regulators with the tools necessary to promote greater reliability and accountability within the sector with the necessary sanctions. As discussions continue regarding the renewal of the JPS license, this event underscores the importance of ensuring that the future licensing arrangements contain clear performance standards, resilience requirements, customer service obligations, and appropriate mechanisms for accountability when major system failures occur. The events of June 5th must now more than ever inform the way forward as we seek to build a modern, resilient, and consumer-focused electricity sector for Jamaicans and Jamaica. As we enter the start of the Atlantic hurricane season, we are now 10 days in the start of the season. Preparedness must remain a national priority. Last Friday served as a timely reminder of how vulnerable critical infrastructure can be disrupted. The recent island-wide blackout has reinforced the importance of ensuring that all sectors are fully prepared to withstand adverse weather conditions. I also encourage every Jamaican to take personal responsibility for preparedness as we are in the season. Madam Speaker, I must also make it explicitly clear that the $150 million loan provided to the JPS following Hurricane Melissa was ring-fenced for the purpose of restoration. I've seen several instances of misrepresentation of the purpose of the funds, and I must make it abundantly clear that these funds were not for upgrading of the network, but to ensure that the people in Western Jamaica who were suffering did not have to wait until the end of 2027 to get light and water, possibly waiting as much as 1 year plus before being restored. Thanks to the loan, the needed trucks, linesmen, and barges with equipment arrived in the island, and restoration was able to be done almost 1 year ahead of the utility provider's latest estimate. In closing, the events of the past several days have been deeply concerning. On June 5th, Jamaica experienced a total island-wide blackout under adverse weather conditions and resulted in a cascading failure of the national grid. the outage disrupted daily lives. Since then, restoration efforts have returned service to most customers. However, the impact of this event did not end with the restoration of the grid. Many customers have continued to report power interruptions and localized outages, raising further concerns about the stability and resilience of the electricity network. The preliminary report submitted by JPS has outlined the sequence of events, the operational response, the suggested cause of the wider propagation of the system instability, and recommendations for corrective action. What is clear is that this event has exposed weaknesses that cannot be ignored. Jamaica expects and deserves a reliable electricity system, and they expect accountability when failures occur and decisive action to prevent them from happening again. As Minister, I remain committed to ensuring that the lessons from this incident are fully understood, that all the recommendations are rigorously pursued, and that every stakeholder fulfills their responsibility to strengthen the national grid. The objective is not just to simply recover from this outage, but to emerge from it with stronger, more resilient, and more reliable electricity system for the people of Jamaica, and ensuring that JPS is accountable and that there are no further occurrences. The events of June 5th must serve as a turning point, not another chapter in recurring story of system failures. We owe that to Jamaica and the Jamaican people. I want to assure the nation that this matter continues to receive my full attention. As additional information becomes available, further assessments are completed, the public will be kept informed. I must also advise the public that the ministry will be engaging a world-renowned energy expert to assess reports, JPS findings, and the OUR recommendations. I'm confident that this matter can be resolved once and for all under this government and this minister based on the working relationship that we have developed with the current CEO of JPS and the management, considering the successes we achieved together in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Madam Speaker, between 2006 and 2012, we had 4 occurrences of this nature, compared to 1 in the last decade. Whilst the frequency has decreased, the greater problem must be addressed. The timeline shows this challenge was inherited by the current CEO, given that he has been here at the helm of the utility company for a little under 2 years, but like the approach of the government, he is determined to have it resolved. Madam Speaker, I have publicly expressed my dissatisfaction with the events of June 5th and the following interruptions. I can hardly find better words to say. The Jamaican public and I are sick and tired of the entire scenario over 2 decades. What I can say and assure the Jamaican people is that the matter has my full attention and that my passion will fuel the awesome responsibility and task that comes with this portfolio, and the faith and confidence that the people of Jamaica have placed in this administration will provide the determination to ensure a resolution is found once and for all. Madam Speaker, I was interacting with a few users on WhatsApp, social media, since the outage, and what I can state without fear of contradiction is that when the power went, it affected everyone. It was not political or partial, and what the people of Jamaica expect from this House is a unified approach to getting to the solutions needed to prevent further reoccurrences. I want to thank Jamaica for their patience, understanding, as the government continues to navigate this series of events and eventually to bring to a successful closure. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Is your mic on?
Yeah. Bring it. Bring it. Bring it.
Responding to statement by Minister is a member from St. Andrew Western. Responding to statement by Minister is the member from St. Andrew Western.
Yeah.
Madam Speaker, we all listened very intently to the Minister, not only in the Parliament, but also on social media in response to this very, very challenging incident. And we couldn't disagree, and we're not disagreeing with the Minister, that this is an unacceptable situation. However, what the opposition wants is to ensure that this series of incident, outrage, and then this reoccur in one form or the other ceases. Because in 2026, with technology as it is, with the media looking on, with Jamaica's status in the global economy, this incident is a big incident to lots of people around the world, and that will only grow the reputational damage. So, Minister, one of the things we want to ensure is that, and I listened to you very carefully, and I heard you say that the focus is not only on negotiating the license, but that you also are looking at alternative ownership arrangements, broader reforms, and that the recommendations for corrective measures are implemented. This is as it must be, Minister, because the matter of how we respond and what on the timely basis on which we respond, considering that we now are into the hurricane season, is a matter of some moment, because we are in the negotiation, and the truth is we are concerned that because, and you refer to the running down, that, and you're acutely aware that in this running down process, that the ability or the incentive or the impetus of JPS to respond to these issues are very, very low. We don't have the leverage on JPS that we would ordinarily have and should have, and that's the reality. So, Minister, I don't know, I think it would be a credit to your negotiating powers, you and your team, to have them act now, not after the license has been agreed and signed, because we cannot wait until 2027 or beyond to fix these issues. So the issues we want to have looked at, Mr. Speaker, are the issues of systems losses. This has been a perennial issue from the time I was minister way back in 2001. It has been a systemic, structural issue. Contract transparency. Now, Minister, I have said in this House previously that the issue of the LNG contract, the take-or-pay contract, is of some urgency and some concern, because that and the matter of the pass-through of electricity goes straight to the consumers. And therefore, JPS does not have the kind of incentive that it should have to address the issues of electricity cost, because those are straight pass-through to the consumers. We bear the risk and the burden of that. And yet, we have been unable, as a parliament, as a committee in parliament, and I'm not even sure that the cabinet itself have seen this contract. I'm not even sure. And you have confirmed my suspicion that the cabinet has not seen it. Now, how can that be, Minister, when, as I said, this is a straight pass-through to the consumers? So that it is in the consumer's interest and benefit that we know the terms of these contracts on whatever basis. We don't have to publicize it across the world, but we have systems and mechanisms in the courts and in the parliament and in the cabinet that can review these contracts on a confidential basis so that we are aware of what is happening. So this contract transparency issue is a big issue. It's a very big issue. And Minister, if you were to conclude the negotiation and this thing remains as is, we'd consider it not an improvement. The other issue is sector governance. Really have to look at that issue. I fail to understand that the OUR, you mentioned the point that Mr. Grant and yourself and others come in at different stage after the 2006 first incident. But
Member, how much additional time do you need? How much additional time do you need?
Minister, another 5 minutes? Yeah, another 5 minutes.
That's double the time, but let me give you the leeway.
It's a very important issue.
Could you reset the clock? House, the question is that the member be allowed 5 minutes to complete. Those in favor? The ayes have it. Those against, the ayes have it.
Thank you. The issue of the governance structure needs to change. We need to see an improved governance structure. And that you're not focused primarily on the negotiation for the license is important. But the question then arises, I've said, when will these other reform measures be undertaken? Yeah? So we'll be looking to see closely whether the negotiation can result in some immediate responses, because we recall that in the aftermath of Melissa, you, again because of the situation with the licenses and the uncertainty, you had to upfront $150 million US. I don't know that you have any similar amount to incentivize JPS to undertake these urgent reforms, because the issue of the KV lines being affected by rain. We are an island, we have rain every day, almost. And it means that if we don't make the fixes, we're going to have recurring incidents. And we are agreed, Minister, that this thing cannot be recurring. The reputational damage to the country is significant. So, Minister, you have a bit of work to do in convincing the JPS that without a license, it has an incentive to enter under reference and to begin the reform efforts now and not to wait till 2027. Minister, I just want to say that you mentioned that the losses, and I've heard you in the outrage that you intend to ask JPS to compensate. Now, in the same breath, you made the observation that the agreement does not have any provision. Now, how do you propose to do that? To convince them again on the basis of no incentive, no license, and the uncertainty about the agreement that they will now be paying out potentially substantial losses, not only to businesses, but to consumers. So that much, I think you may want to give us some indication about that. Minister, I just want to ensure that the Joint Select Committee, which met on this issue for over a year, and a report was actually concluded. That was never tabled in this House. But the recommendations in that report were, to my mind, and I believe you share the view, sufficiently significant that we will be looking to see what of those measures and those recommendations will be incorporated into the license. Because I think those recommendations will make a substantial improvement over the existing licensing arrangement, which is what we all need and we all are urging. So, Minister, they have some work to do, and we look forward to not only the preliminary report, the final report, and to see what recommendations are there, and to insist that we begin that process of negotiation or reform to ensure that this not occur in this hurricane season. All right? Thank you, Minister.
Yes, Minister, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. And just to indicate that I'm happy at the response from opposition colleague in relation to my statement. I can say that the spokesperson, I was in touch with him. He's not in Parliament today, but we are in touch, and we constantly stay in touch, which is a position that I take. I also work closely with the member who responded, because this has to be something that there's consensus on. This is too important, and this is not about us here today. It's about generations to come. So it's important that there is consensus in terms of how we proceed with the electricity issues, which include the license, the reforms, and of course this current situation that we have. And I give up the House undertaking that I will keep the opposition in the loop, and of course consultations and discussions will continue as I've always done. As it relates to your first comment, there's no two ways about it. The reputational damage of all island power cut for any country is a significant reputational issue. The issue of the LNG contract, member, I share your sentiment, but at the same time I caution you to realize that it is a private sector, quasi-private sector arrangement, although it was negotiated by a negotiating team at the time. But I will agree with you that we have not got the benefits. The consumers and the country has not got the benefits that were intended by the introduction of LNG. And as it relates to the joint select, which I chaired, and you were a participating member, because of the negotiations and the time with the license, etc., it's not that we are not using information from that was agreed on, but based on all the different timelines that came about, we realized that it wouldn't make sense to deal with the license itself. And I want to assure you that in the negotiating of the license, that the reforms have to be done in parallel. They may not actually be completed at the same time, but you can't have a new license with the same regulations and the same act that governs us now, because it will be totally counterproductive. So you said the right thing, a lot of work to be done. It's a moving process every day. What I can assure you, and I can assure my colleagues and the country, is that we are equipping ourselves with the best of the best. So we have our AGC, we have our Ministry of Finance reps, but we also have external lawyers, we have external financial advisors, and we have external technical advisors, because you are going up against very, very, very big companies with big lawyers. And we have to make sure that when we go into that room, that we are on an evil. So I say to you, member, I appreciate your response, tempered, rational response, and to commit that these discussions, as they unfold, the opposition will be kept abreast of it, because it's of the importance of it to have a bipartisan agreement in terms of the way forward in the national interest. Thank you very much.
All right, I recognize the member from Southeast Senan. All right, it is not ready. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Minister, you
This
spoke...
is a member from South Manchester. I said a member of Southeast Senan, so yield to you. Was that it?
He yielded.
All right. I didn't hear that.
We understand you're learning the job. We understand you're learning the job. Minister, you spoke about a parallel track. You said you had one team negotiating and one team working on a parallel track if those negotiations are not successful. But I put it to you that in the time that's left on the license, it is impossible to get a third party to take over the JPS system. There's not enough time to do proper engineering, due diligence, etc., especially given the passage of Melissa recently, the unexplained cascading national outages, etc. Any potential purchaser would need, I would guess, a couple years to do a proper technical due diligence. So in that context, I'm asking you to confirm, one, that the parallel track would be that the government of Jamaica would have to take over the JPS, the distribution network. Obviously the private power, the shareholders have their private power generator at Old Harbour, but the government would have to take over the distribution system. And secondly, could you identify for us who these technical advisors are from the perspective of engineering, from the perspective of power generation and transmission specialists, from the perspective of legal and any negotiating external expertise? Could you identify them specifically?
Thank you very much, member. In relation to your first question, I think based on your background, professional background, you would realize that the question that you're asking me, for me to answer that, would not be appropriate at this particular time, for several different reasons. And secondly, in relation to the information that you are requesting in relation to the advisors for the various different areas that we are, I will get that in detailed information and provide you with it. But you can understand that we are 1 year next month. As you say, it's a short time, but the fact of the matter is that we have to walk and chew gum, because the fact is that at the same time, we're not going to end up in a situation where the clock runs down and we have to take a license that is less perfect than we need it to be for the benefit of Jamaica.
The member from Southeast Annan.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Minister. 2 questions. On the night of the blackout, at least one house in my constituency burned down because the gentleman decided to use a candle. House caught fire and completely lost. The question is, well, it raises the question of providing safe, alternate, temporary, can I call them, lighting devices, so that we move away from the candles and the lamps and so on. And I just would like to hear your thoughts on where we are, especially with solar lamps. I know there was a pilot program at one point, because that is going to help us not just to take some pressure off the grid, but also make sure people can safely live in safety whenever there's a blackout. The second part of this has to do with the periodic outages which have been taking place. And quite a few people in my constituency anyway are struggling because they're losing their appliances and so on because of the surges in power. I know there's a process, but for a lot of rural communities, accessing the established process is not easy. I'm asking for your commitment. Would you commit to ensuring that there is some simplified process put in place as an immediate response for those who are affected by the blackout and the fluctuations in power which have been taking place since? And finally, I don't know if you had said it because it was difficult to hear sometimes on this side. The previous report from 2016, it's 10 years, and you've said that the recommendations were not fully implemented. What contributed to that, and what's going to be different this time around to ensure that whatever recommendations are made are actually implemented? Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Member. In relation to your first point in relation to the unfortunate loss of a home as a result of the all-island power cut and the use of candle, that is something that is quite frequent, not even to do with all-island blackouts, but ordinary power cuts and some persons who don't have any light whatsoever. And we have lost many lives for it. There is definitely a sentiment that there should be some form of compensation, some methodology. And as I said before, unfortunately, it is not in the current act to make it happen. But there is also something called a moral compass. And when you have 690,000 customers and light goes out all island by no fault of theirs, they have paid their bills, then it is absolutely something that JPS, in terms of good customer relations, should have some kind of scenario that can evaluate and assist. What bothers me is that obviously on a Friday night, which is the night when most people in the country and in Kingston is when they make their little money with their round robins and the bars and the dominoes, etc., and the jerk chicken man and the round robin man. I mean, one cut of the switch and they have lost everything for the night and for the entire weekend. And what do they say? Sorry? Oh, sorry, can't help them to send their child back to school Monday morning when they have spent the money to invest and they can't get a return. So, fact is that what the commitment that I'm making to you is that the new license and a new act that will go with the license will have mandatory, compensatory measures and sanctions. And I go back, members, because it's not long ago, you know. Melissa and Beryl, the emergency disaster fund, which was as high as $50 million before Beryl and Melissa wiped it out. The only beneficiary of that was the license holder, you know. There was nothing in there. And I tell the story, I see member from Westmoreland looking at me. When the pole fall on the fence, whether the black fence or whichever fence, chain link fence, and pop it down and mash it up, the licensee claim for the pole and get full compensation out of the emergency disaster fund. And you have to go find block and go to a hardware and buy the materials to fix back your fence. Something is fundamentally wrong with that. It's a flawed license, and it is also a flawed regulations and the act that governs it. So again, I'm very mindful I'm a rural MP, and I know all of us go through it every day. That cannot continue, because even in this situation, and even in normal situations with a power surge and your fridge motor burn up, and you put in your claim and you get the electrician to come, you wait for years to get a response from the JPS. And when you get the response says, sorry, but investigation showed that it was no fault of the JPS. That's what has happened all along. So again, I said to you, we are where we are, and the bottom line is it's time to fix it. As you would say over that side, time come.
And
after Beryl, the distribution of solar lamps to try and replace the use of the candles and the kerosene. I can't remember, don't hold me to it, but I know that my ministry either imported either 10,000 or 12,000 or 15,000. I remember that MPs, I was at Member Hilton's handover. All MPs were given an allocation at that time. Some of you weren't here. Some of you had left, taken leave, and came back. But those of us who served well were here throughout the entire time. So, yes. So, it's a program. I know JSIF, who is doing the rural electrification. I know that they also have a program in terms of giving, free of cost, the solar lamps that are charged by solar. You can charge your phone and you have the lamp on it. So that is something that I will follow through to see that that program continues. But it was an announcement by the Prime Minister and it started. So the new members wouldn't have been there at the time, but yes, and your former representatives would have been beneficiaries. And it was very effective. Thank you.
All right, announcements. You didn't indicate.
It's quick, it's quick. It's quick, and it's not a rebuttal to the quip that was made. Minister, I realize that you will have some challenges with the compensation, right? But in relation to the same persons you spoke about, like the round robin persons and those other individuals, the government, though, can assist with some of this. They can't compensate them necessarily for the goods that they would have lost, but certainly for the permission and the permits that they would have applied for. I think there should be a discussion between yourself and the Minister of Local Government to ensure that when these persons get a new date to keep their event, that the permits that they would have gotten approval for before, that those can be transferred so that they can have their events made.
Member? Member, I've heard you say a lot of things in the Parliament. That has got to be one of the best suggestions. You're getting better with age. It's an absolute reasonable, rational, and the fact of the matter, I know that my colleague minister will take it on board because it's not even a refund. They can use it at another time for another event, which means that the municipal corporation doesn't have to find the money to refund. Very, very good suggestion, member. Keep them going.
Announcements.
Laid on the table of the House are the following. Under the law reform, Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures Act 2017, the law reform Zones of Special Operation, Special Security and Community Development Measures, extension of period of operation orders 2026 and their resolutions in respect of the Augustown Zone, the Norwood community in the parish of St. James Zone, the Greenwich Town Zone, the Mount Salem community and environs in the parish of St. James Zone, the Denham Town Community Zone, the Savannah Lamar Zone, the Parade Garden Zone. Ministry papers numbered 37 to 43, 2026, titled The Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security and Community Development Measures, Social Interventions Update, December 1 to 2025, May 31, 2026, in respect of the Augustown Zone dated June 3, 2026, the Norwood Community Zone dated June 3, 2026, the Greenwich Town Zone dated June 3, 2026, the Mount Salem Zone Community Zone dated June 5, 2026, the Denham Town Community Zone dated June 3, 2026, the Savannah Lamar Zone dated June 5, 2026, and the Parade Gardens Zone dated June 3, 2026. Thank you, Madam Speaker. No, where is the... Also laid on the table is the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the whole House of Representatives, consisting of all members of the House on the Bank of Jamaica monetary policy statement for the 6th month ended March 2026, and quarterly monetary policy reports dated February 24, 2026, and May 26, 2026. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees. Minister Williams.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to lay on the table of the House a copy of the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives on the Bank of Jamaica quarterly monetary policy statement for the 6 months ended March 2026 and monetary policy reports dated February 24, 2026 and May 26, 2026 respectively.
Thanks, Minister. Notices of motions given orally. Minister of Finance.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House, I will move the following motion. Be it resolved that the report of the Standing Finance Committee of the House of Representatives on the Bank of Jamaica quarterly monetary policy statement for the 6 months ended March 2026 and monetary policy reports dated February 24, 2026 and May 26, 2026, which were laid on the table of the House on the 10th day of, 10th day of June, 2026 be approved. Do I read the next? Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today, I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion.
Thanks, Minister. Next is the Minister of National Security.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that the next meeting of the House I will move the following. The law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Mount Salem community, the law reforms zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, Denham Town community, law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the August Town zone, the law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Greenwich Town zone, the law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Nord community in the parish of St. James, the law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Savamar zone in the parish of Westmoreland, the law reform zones of special operations, special security and community development measures, the Parade Garden zone of extension in the corporate area. Minister, now, Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that in the later stage today I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the resolutions.
Thanks, Minister. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I beg to give notice that at the next meeting of the House I will move. Whereas Standing Order 32A1 stipulates that the sectoral debate shall last no longer than 6 weeks in each year, and whereas the 2026-2027 sectoral debate commences on April 21st, 2026, and the 6-week period expired on May 26, 2026, be it resolved that notwithstanding Standing Order 32A1, that the sectoral debates be extended until June 30th, 2026. And Madam Speaker, I further beg to give notice that at a later stage today I will move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take this motion.
Thank you. Members, Minister, turn off your mic, please. I put the question, those in favor. Questions and answers to questions. Minister, it is now past 3. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, with the time being 5:35 p.m., I now move that the House be allowed to receive and answer questions at this time.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against, the ayes have it. Member from Westmoreland Central.
Same one. Madam Speaker, the House will recall that on May 13, 2026, I gave notice that I would ask the Minister of Local Government and Community Development the question standing in my name on the question notice paper requiring a written response. Madam Speaker, I wish to withdraw those questions.
Those in favor? Those against? This is a teaching moment, and I hope you're paying attention. I don't think I've seen this for my 10, 11 years in the House. Continue.
Madam Speaker, I wish to give notice that at the expiration of 21 days, I will ask the Minister of Local Government and Community Development the following questions standing in my name.
They were going to answer the questions today.
No, them send off.
Motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice, motions relating to the sitting of the House, motion for leave to introduce bills, presentation of bills without leave of the House, first obtained, public business. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, we have 3 matters to treat with in public business. We're going to start with the zones of special operations, which I expect we will be able to get through quickly. Then we will have, okay, we will start with the Minister of Finance, who has a very short matter. And then we will do our zones, and then we will do the Civil Aviation Act.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Members, those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, I have nothing further to add, so I ask that we conclude the debate on the motion and ask that it be approved.
Question is that it be approved. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders and enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker, as the standing orders require, indicate that the sectoral debates are to be for 6 weeks, and we have passed the 6 weeks period. We're moving to suspend, to notwithstanding the standing orders, that the sectoral debates be extended. We expect that the sectoral debates will end on the 30th day of June. I think they have been going extremely well thus far. People are according to the time, and as such, we ask that the motion be passed.
Question is that the sectoral debate be extended beyond the 6 weeks period as per the standing orders to be concluded on the 30th of June 2026. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? The ayes have it.
We will now take the zones of special operations.
Thank you, House Leader. Turn it back over.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I now move for the suspension of the standing orders to enable me to take the motion, notice of which I gave earlier.
Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Go ahead, Minister.
Madam Speaker, the zones of special operations continue to deliver meaningful benefits to some of our most challenged communities and vulnerable areas. The value of the intervention within declared areas cannot be overstated. 3 zones were established under the structured medium-term clear hold bill strategy designed to restore public order, reduce violence, and create a foundation for substantial peace and renewed hope among the beneficiaries. Madam Speaker, since the first zone was declared in Mount Salem in September 2017, we have made significant and measurable progress. Serious crimes have been reduced in these communities and across the country, and we have simultaneously strengthened the government's border city security program. Madam Speaker, the time has come for us to advance our work to the next level to capitalize on our gains and to fully realize our vision for these spaces. In my sectoral presentation to this Honourable House in 2026, you may recall that I outlined how we are evolving a national peace strategy and redefine the future role of the zones. We recognize that we cannot remain indefinitely in a state of heightened security presence. Therefore, we are moving deliberately towards a new model, one that includes the transition of the zones into zones of peace and opportunity, where peace is not merely enforced, but embedded, sustained, and driven by opportunity created in those communities. Accordingly, Madam Speaker, I wish to bring to the attention of this House that the government is currently taking decisive steps towards this transition. During the debate on the extension of the zone in December 2025, a question was raised by an honourable member of the opposition regarding whether sufficient empirical evidence exists to directly attribute reduction in crime to zones. At that time, the House was advised that steps were being contemplated to undertake a formal evidence-based assessment. We are comfortable with what we have seen and understand, but we think we will have to establish the data in order to ensure we can scale up operations and extend them over time. I'm pleased to report that today this work is well underway. The Government of Jamaica, in collaboration with the key partners, is advancing a comprehensive evaluation of the zones of special operation. This research is being supported through grant funding from the Inter-American Development Bank and is expected to come on stream by mid-2026, that is July, starting with a feasibility exercise. Madam Speaker, this research will provide the government with a robust empirical understanding of the effectiveness of the zone. It will allow us to determine what has worked, what has not, and how best to scale the most effective elements across the country. Critically, it will inform and guide our transition to the zones of peace and opportunity. The objectives of this research include, among other things, to assess not only the financial costs and benefits of the zones, but also to quantify their social and environmental impact. To identify, evaluate, and prioritize initiatives that deliver the highest social value, ensuring that resources are directed toward intervention with the greatest potential for economic and community transformation. Given that, of course, there are different stages in the build, hold, and clear build, hold process, we know that we'll have varying results, but in fact, it will be enough studied properly to give us the kind of data required to move forward. To identify potential risks, unintended consequences, and implementation challenges, and to develop practical mitigation and sustainability strategies. To analyze the long-term social and environmental outcomes in order to support the sustained operationalization of the peace in vulnerable communities across Jamaica. To design and operationalize the zones of peace as a long-term evolution and transition for framework beyond zones. To equip policymakers and decision-makers with the data and insight needed to maximize societal benefits and support sustainable development around city security and peace. Madam Speaker, this government places high value on the evidence-based decision-making as we continue efforts to build safer, stronger, and more resilient communities. Peace is not dependent on permanent police military presence, but sustained through opportunity, inclusion, and development. So, Madam Speaker, consistent with the requirements on the law reform, the Zones of Special Operations, Special Security, and Community Development Measures Act, we are seeking support for the continuation of all 7 areas currently declared as zones of special operation in the communities of Mount Salem, which was long-lasting and has shown major progress and is just about ready for transitioning. Denham Town, some work has started and is proceeding reasonably well. August Town, Greenwich Town, Norwood, Parade, Gardens, and Savamar. Acting on the advice of the National Security Council, and in accordance with the Law Reform Zones of Special Operations, Special Security, and Community Development Measures Act, and more specifically in keeping with the Section 5 of the Act, which guides that the Prime Minister, in Council after consultation with Joint Command, may by order subject to affirmative resolution of the House of Representatives extend the period referred to in Section 4.3, the extension of zones of special operation, is being requested for a further period of 180 days as they expire on June 22, 2026. The Minister papers are settled, are tabled in the House, and the activities outlined. But we have seen an overall reduction of some 37% in murders, major reduction in violence in every area and across the country. Of course, This comes against a similar reduction across the country, which is why the reduction, the study is critical to show what works in the zone of special operation. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The member from St. Andrews Southwest. The member from St. Andrews South, and then the member from St. Andrews Southwest.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We have consistently given a no objection to the renewals of these zones of special operations. They used to come at 60-day intervals, I think. The law was amended, now they're coming at 6-monthly intervals. And what I would say is this: it's not obvious to many people that they really serve any continuing useful purpose. I mean, when I go through Augustown, when I go through Denham Town, I don't pass through, man. When may I check you? There's very little to show for it in terms of any saturated military or law enforcement presence. There's usually just a little checkpoint where somebody is stationed. You're looking forlorn, usually. And our point really is we're extending this for another 6 months. These areas will be under the special legal regime that the Zozo legislation creates, which is a legal regime which has elements to it which are reduced rights or increased law enforcement powers, which is really the corollary of each other, in a way that most of Jamaica doesn't experience currently. So I'm hesitant, Minister, to just continue sort of in a fairly mechanistic way to just say, yes, continue. As you've said, I mean, some of these zones are approaching a decade now. And, you know, we're all happy that the focused deterrence strategy of policing has achieved reductions, significant reductions in major crimes and murders. I don't think you can attribute that to the Zozos, because there are many parts of Jamaica where the murder rates were extremely high and have benefited from the overall reduction. And there continue to be, from time to time, flare-ups of violence in the Zozo areas. You know, so it's a bit of a mixed bag. But in the interest of consensus as much as being achieved as much as possible around issues to do with the fight against serious crime, we want to be supportive, and we have been. We've only differed fundamentally on the use of states of emergency, which are no longer being used, and we're pleased for that. And the results of the new strategies speak for themselves. We're pleased with that. So what I would say, Minister, is that I'm hoping that you will come with a ministerial statement as opposed to, you know, a statement like this, which we appreciate, but a ministerial statement when the House is full and we can have a proper discussion around it as to what is the real future for this particular mechanism. What are you've indicated you're looking to transition to something a bit different, which I welcome that. And you're doing some database analysis as to how they've worked over the time that you've deployed them, which is also very good, and we're looking forward to seeing the results of that. So, you know, we're not going to oppose this today, but I would just say to you that I'm personally skeptical as to the continuing usefulness of the zones in these communities. There may be, hopefully won't be, but who knows, in the future there may be the need to deploy this mechanism from time to time where there's a problem. Hopefully that won't happen, but you know, as it stands today, this is the right approach. I do think that interventions to strengthen communities along the lines of Project STAR, in the past we had Unite for Change, those types of things do have an important role to play to provide hope, provide opportunities for self-advancement, to uplift the dignity of communities and so on. And we would support any initiative moving in that general direction, I think. So, Minister, I hope that we will hear from you soon again on where you plan to take these communities and when we can expect to see the zone of special operations mechanism withdrawn from these communities and something more comprehensive, perhaps island-wide in areas which need that kind of care and attention being rolled out to the benefit of the residents of those communities that need that. So you have our support again today, Minister. I would just close by saying what has happened in the last 24 hours plus with 11 police fatal shootings is a concern to us. You know our position that we support the body-worn cameras being deployed on special operations. We think this is an important thing to ensure that Jamaica can have confidence that the rule of law is being scrupulously followed by our law enforcement officers. And the metrics where you have a situation like 11 citizens killed by agents of the state in such a short space of time, that is a concern. I can't make any comment on the specifics of those incidents, but just the statistical side of it is concerning. And I think that we need to find ways of providing an assurance of accountability for the use of extreme force, deadly force, by the police. And I think the society is increasingly perturbed that we're seeing this elevated level of police fatal shootings and nothing really apparently in place to assure accountability around it. Indicom isn't really generating, they have so much work on their plate now, they must have so much, the volume of investigations that would be in their portfolio has grown tremendously as a result of the increase in police fatal shootings. So, you know, it's a long period of time before families and a community get the benefit of hearing what Indicom's investigation produced. In the meantime, people are feeling extremely vulnerable and very concerned. And that's not a good thing because the force is there to serve and protect, and they're doing a wonderful job for the most part. But there are these things happening which are not good, and we would like to see something done to address that. And as Minister of National Security, I'd ask you to, I know that must exercise your mind a lot, but because it's a very thorny issue, but I'm hoping we can find some way of changing the paradigm a bit and restoring a sense of the primacy of the rule of law in how we police our population. I think it's very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Minister, I rise to share some of the concerns that the Leader of the Opposition has articulated. I don't intend to go into detail with many of those, but also the people of Greenwich Town would not forgive me if I didn't make some comments today. The report that you have covers, and the fisherman would know that would not, covers December 1st, 2025 to May 31st, 2026. And I was just going through, as I normally do, the list of activities that took place during the period. And I want to say a couple of things about that. So, as they are here listed, I have no difficulty with them. I always say that every benefit that comes to communities like Greenwich Town is welcome. and there's absolutely no doubt about that. But when we look at the numbers, you know, the fencing for 50 families, when we look at the training for the environmental wardens, the green spaces, even the entrepreneurial grants that were given out, the summer program, again, I say they are welcome. But when you look at the number of persons involved from where I stand and from where the community stands, it almost seems minuscule. Again, I say it. Every such intervention is welcome, but given the number of individuals that are there and who would need the kind of intervention, I'm thinking that one of the things that we need to look at is to see how some of these very good programs can have a greater impact. Because too often, the programs that we carry out are almost pilot type, and therefore we don't get the benefit of really seeing what the impact they could make on the community if, in fact, they went beyond the handful. Now, this is for this period, but Minister, I saw a summary of the works done from the beginning. And I don't know if members of your team have told you. Certainly the CDC and the elected officials are contending that the fulsome list that you have is misleading because several of the activities that took place, yes, were carried out by JSIF, but preceded, yes, the installation of the ZOZO. And so, especially because you are going to be doing an assessment, I think it is extremely important to make sure that what is covered are those activities that fall fully under the period of the ZOZO, and that it doesn't extend to also include other beneficial activities for which the ZOZO is not responsible. Oh, no, man, that's fine. I'm just simply saying that those activities preceded the ZOZO. And so when you include them as part of the works under the ZOZO, people become a little anxious. You are assessing, Minister, and therefore whatever the successor program is, and I have no doubt that the community, certainly for the Greenstone community, it would still need a little bit more work to be done. And so I am hoping that one of the things we will fix is the real collaboration between all stakeholders. Because as far as I'm concerned, and the CDC as well, it has been inconsistent. And I know the councillors agree with me that often we are not clear on when the meetings are, the discussions to arrive at some of the solutions and review of the program. So let me see if I missed anything. Minister, I'm always intrigued when I see the requests and the intervention under the ZOZO and the matter of electricity is not dealt with. I'm always intrigued. I'm always intrigued because sometimes even the police call me and ask me to help with light. I've called the minister several times to try and intervene. I believe that the matter of street lights is just such an obvious issue that needs to be resolved under a ZOZO. Because if those communities remain without street lights, you know, the potential for escalation and so on is just, yes. So I'm saying that this should be an automatic activity, that there is some kind of collaboration between JPS and the ministries to ensure that this is taken care of. And it's a big gap that I want to point out that needs to be dealt with. As I sit, I just want to say I definitely share the concerns of the member from St. Andrew South, in particular around the police fatal shootings, because we are building a relationship with the police, and some of the activities and the narrative around them tend to damage the relationship that we're building. And so I am concerned about that. And I want to make sure as well, Minister, that those individuals, especially on your side in government, who have responsibilities when they speak, to acknowledge that the concerns that we express come from a place of wanting to see an improved relationship between the citizenry and the police, and not from anything else. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to, first of all, I've heard the comments from the leader of the opposition and also from the member from Southwest. But I also, Madam Speaker, have not heard any expression of concern as it relates to the shooting of the police officer who is in the hospital at this time. So while the concerns are real, we must also express concern of the shooting of a police officer in the execution of his responsibilities, and we are wishing for the police officer a speedy recovery. Yes. Madam Speaker, I want to make a brief comment on the motion before the House as it relates to the extension of the zones of special operations. Madam Speaker, the community of Denham Town is a better community today for the zones of special operations. Despite a few incidents here and there, Madam Speaker, the community have benefited significantly from that intervention. And I want to point out, Madam Speaker, that what has happened especially in Denham Town, in the zones of special operations, the relationship between the residents and the security forces, especially the police, is at a level that I've never seen it before, Madam Speaker. The question of community policing has gone a far way in helping to minimize significantly the number of incidents, both domestic and gang violence in the community. And it is because of the approach that has been taken by the security forces. And you know, I want to commend Inspector Cox, who is in charge of the zone of special operations. There is a program that they have started on the corner. So they go to the various corners where these gentlemen hang out and they engage them. They put on certain programs. Yes. They put on certain programs, Madam Speaker. We had an health fair about 3 weeks ago at Denham Town, and the zones of special operation played a significant role in the staging of that health fair. While I appreciate and understand that there needs to be a revision of it, but let me say, Madam Speaker, we ought not to take it for granted. I believe that the zones of special operation is working. It is playing its part. The member from Southwest spoke about the question of lighting. In Denham Town, the zones of special operation approach the Jamaica Public Service Company. And in all of Denham Town, where the trees grow on the lines, where the lights are not working, the Jamaica Public Service Company came in, worked with the zones of special operation and the community leaders, gave notice to the community. And they turned off the lights when they were doing the trimming of the trees. And now if you go into Denham Town, the community is singing a different song. And they are singing the praises of the security forces as it relates to the zones of special operations. So, Madam Speaker, I am in support of it. There are times that the member would call me and I would call JPS. And I am giving you the commitment, Minister, that I will engage the Jamaica Public Service Company and ask them to put the similar program that they have done in Denham Town in your area. So, and I will speak to you outside of the House on this matter. But, Madam Speaker, I want to support the motion, and I want to, again, congratulate the security forces. You know, last thing I want to say, in the month of April, Kingston Western Police Division was acknowledged for that month, crime-free, Madam Speaker, not even a battle stopper. And it's because of the work of the security forces with the community in achieving that. I support it, and I want to thank the security forces and to thank the community for working hand in hand to make Denham Town a better community.
Member from Portland Eastern.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. And my hope, Madam Speaker, is that I won't have to seek your protection just to make a point. So I will start humbly by saying, in response to the member from, I don't want to say Denham Town, but West Kingston. And I will say humbly that to be clear, I don't think at this point there's any objection to the extension. So anything I say is not in objection, but observations that need to be taken into consideration. I will start by saying that I think we can appreciate that with the greatest efforts from the government, Jamaica is still straddling the fence of being a high crime society, and there's great work. The aspect of human rights is why I rise. I will say that I looked at the August Town report, and what was missing was something profound. Because while it is that we congratulate the security forces, we appreciate the hard work that they do, when it comes to the right to life, there are just some mishaps that take place that brings distrust within the entire society. For instance, it was only, if I say correctly, I don't want to misquote, but the date would have been August 27th, thereabout, where a mentally ill young man was unalived, not by the JCF, but from running into the tent, and then there was some altercation with members of the JDF. Now, this was at a Zozo tent. None of that forms a part of the report, and it took place during the timeline. This is significant because what I will say is that what is taking place, certainly from the program, is that there is progress and development within the communities. What it cannot be is to remain as training wheels. If you think of a tricycle, those two, if I'm right, or a bicycle with the two training wheels, is that there has to be a definitive period. There has to be some form of signpost to say that we are ending programs here, because what it seems, or what appears to be, is a reward in some spaces for good behavior in places that are bad, when bad behavior is taking place across the entire Jamaica in areas that there's no answer for. So it cannot appear to be a stopgap or unending fix to a problem which is a crime problem that must be solved by increasing investigation capacity. The Jamaica Eye, I hear all this stuff about JPS and better lighting and all of that. Nobody is objecting to that. But when we speak about body cameras, when we speak about investigation, and when we think of the right to life, it leaves a very bitter taste in our mouth, Madam Speaker, to not be able to genuinely answer to problems of an attack on the right to life. There is also the aspect of freedom of movement. It seems as if when communities are policed, it restricts freedom of movement in such a way, and there are other domestic issues that become unresolved. That's missing from all the reports which I have read. I'm not trying to start any controversy, but I did hear the member from West Kingston say about the relationships between the police force and the community. Well, when you have files on your desk for child support, when you have files on your desk for domestic violence resulting from baby mama drama, which would have come from members of the police force taking away the baby mother of another man and all of that, it becomes drama. Here, listen, respectfully, it becomes problematic because it also forms a part of domestic violence, which is not something that's properly reported. Violence against women is something that is serious, and it's something that it has to form a part of the report, because while we make solutions in one space, we are creating problems, and that's where distrust comes from if we want the police force to be a part of that. So while it is that persons may think that we are simply saying that this is working and we should continue and we're having these programs, we have to also make that assessment, and it forms a part of the reporting, so that when we come here, the concept which everybody hears all the time is about mature consideration. If the program is working, who is being disenfranchised as a result of the program, and whether generally the communities are benefiting by a utilitarian concept, which is the greater good for all, and not just some persons. And for those reasons, I'll just ask Minister the next 6 months, if when we're thinking about how we are going forward, if at some point a definitive period in some of the areas could be an indicator, because I can say from where I sit, I don't see how someone could say I don't support what is happening, because the evidence is anecdotal, but there are some underlying concerns that has to be addressed. Thank you.
Member from Westmoreland Central.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, first let me say yes, we do support the extension for 2 reasons. One, we're seeing the obvious reduction in crime based on the presence of the security forces. But the other reason is that because the ZOZA has not yet fulfilled what was promised. And there was a developmental part of the ZOZA for the different communities. And what we are seeing in Savlamar, for example, is that we have seen the low-hanging fruits being picked up. So like stuff like the treats and the Labor Day activities, but the major development activities, for example, the roads and the drainage and the sidewalk stuff to improve the level of pride in these communities, this has not been touched. And the ZOZA was not designed to last forever. And it was designed or proposed in a way where after a while, you should be able to leave and the community should be able to stand by itself and stay sustained with crime reduction. But without this developmental aspect being put in place, I think that is why we have to continue with this, because you don't have that aspect of it that will allow for the sustainability that we're desiring. So what we're wondering is, based on the figures I'm seeing where so far, for the period of 4.5 years, 50 million has so far been spent in this era. But yet the most important project when it comes down to value would be an 800 million project for the infrastructure. So I'm not sure, Minister, if you can let us know when this level of infrastructure will actually begin. Because people have been asking, most of these communities that the Zozors are in a very deplorable condition and really need the assistance of government investment for them to reach that level that we want them to reach. So this is the major concern that we have. So we want to ensure that the Zozors are just there for the reduction of crime, but also for the promise that was made to develop all of these areas that the Zozo has been instituted in.
Hold a moment. Member from Clarendon.
I just want to not stay long on the topic, but I think sometimes we forget where we're coming from, Dr. Chang.
Clarendon, North Central.
We forget why Zozos came about in the first place. We forget the circumstances that affected the communities who are now under zones of special operations. We forget that Jamaica is coming from a very chronic murder problem. And I hear now that murders have been reduced to a particular level, I hear persons want to make changes even though we have not yet completed the journey. These communities are still vulnerable communities. I also hear, Dr. Chang, their comments about the actions of the police, and no one on this side would sanction extrajudicial killings. But except for the member from East Portland, I heard nobody from that side talking about the victims of murders that have taken place over the last several days. And I rise because it bothered me, because there's a teacher from Prospect Primary who was murdered yesterday, or I think the day before yesterday. A specialist math teacher. We don't have a lot of those. I don't hear anybody talking about him. And while we are here in Parliament speaking about changes, and I hear persons criticizing the Firearms Act, saying, why are we so anti-guns? Not realizing that guns are the fundamental problem that has affected this country for decades. So now we have achieved so much with Zozo, we don't need it anymore. So next time we shouldn't come here with an extension for 6 months. I do not support that conversation, because the problem is still there. And while murders are down by over 50% in the last 2 years, we want it to go much lower, Dr. Chang. So, Dr. Chang, when you were coming with your strategy, Dr. Chang, and you were under pressure, they say you were the sleeping security minister. They never supported the state of emergency when you brought them in to reduce murders as a shock effect. They never supported it. Initially, they watered down the Zozo bill. Remember the debate I was watching? So now that we have had our hard-earned successes, and places like Augustown and Denhamtown are getting a respite from the murders, now is not the time to turn back, Dr. Chang. This government takes credit. This government takes credit for the significant reduction in murder in this country. This government had a strategy led by the Prime Minister Andrew Michael Holness. And when we were promulgating this strategy, we had to fight hard in this house to get it. They say we never have no crime plan. Where is the crime plan? Was the echo every day, editorials, front page news. And I'm not going to sit here, Dr. Chang, as a young member of this house and allow them to rewrite history. So I stand here in support of the Zozo, and I want you to extend it, and do not allow them to distract you from your strategy, Dr. Chang.
Minister Chang, the member from St. Andrew Southwest is just asking for a moment.
Madam Speaker, I'm seeking your permission to join the conversation for a quick clarification that I wanted to make in terms of what I had said as it related to the collaboration with the JPS. And based on something that the member from West Kingston said, I did not want a misunderstanding to be recorded in the Hansard in terms of what I meant. We do have a very cooperative parish manager from JPS who has been very cooperative. The point I was making, however, is that under the Zozo, it should be an automatic collaboration in how the system is set, such that issues around street lights are dealt with and would not require the intervention of the Member of Parliament or the councillors in that kind of a way. And I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. Also, Madam Speaker, wanted to make sure...
You're not going to get any more making sure.
No, man. One single...
One chance
it will not go beyond a minute. It
no,
will
you're
not
only...
go beyond a minute.
Member.
No.
No, hold on. No,
I'm
so from now on going forward, when you ask to clarify one thing, that is what it is. And that is why you were allowed the time. The unconscious bias of persons not appreciating when they get time and they get latitude. And no matter what, if somebody on the government side is getting latitude, it becomes one major problem. The balance in the House will continue to be maintained. There is no further clarification that the member asks for, and therefore I'll ask the Minister of National Security to wrap up.
No problem, Madam Speaker. I just want to tell you that I am proud to have done what I did with Zozo about what you needed not to do, that we said, no, you can't do it.
And you know, sir, that is no clarification.
Sure. Let me thank the members for... Let me... All right. All right. We heard the member, and we take the point. Madam Speaker, let me thank the members for their support for the current extension, and though qualified in some cases. But we have not had any contention on the issue of zones of special operation. Let me just point out, I'll be very brief, but to refresh the members. We started this on the basis of a number of issues where we agreed. And first of all, the zones were built on the principle of clear, hold, and build. Not all of them have gone through all the stages yet. So we accept that. But they also are aware that the base on which we established these is described in the resolution, that we advise for period exceeding 6, if there are reasonable grounds to believe that due to rampant criminality, gang warfare, escalating violence and murder, a threat to rule of law and public order is necessary to do the zone. That was the basis on which we started. So the government is fully appreciative of the fact that we have seen significant reduction in gang violence across the country. And as one man, we can take credit for the work, the policies, the programs that emerged from those policies, and the work of the Jamaica Consular Force in reducing violence to levels that are much better today than they were before. So we have to do some changes. Timing will always depend on each one assessment in how we move forward with the zone, what is considered zones of special operation, hence my introduction of the concept of zones of peace and opportunity. That we have in our social survey shown that there are near 100 vulnerable communities. We are in 7 of them, and we had in the basic service program another 4 or 5, And we intend to ensure that the kind of intervention we have looked at will be scaled upwards. And in scaling, we want to do a study to see what exactly works best and they can be replicated in other communities. The strong policing presence may not be necessary in the current manner they are. It is a static manner in which we have checkpoints and activities of that sort. But I must say, Madam Speaker, we are aware from the assessment of our intelligence and our social workers out there that there's still need for strong policing. It may be more kinetic than static, but we cannot ignore the fact that there's still major challenges out there. We are satisfied with on a sustainable path, but we cannot reverse the process or it can revert very easily. There are issues to be dealt with in which we have identified: domestic violence, other social vulnerabilities that will be dealt with as we proceed in the execution of the peace agenda. Let me just give some further numbers here, Madam Speaker. At one stage, Jamaica's homicide rate reached 64 per 100,000. That is twice what is considered civil strife by the United Nations. And for those of us who have the experience, and I can share the members' concern from South St. Andrew, that my concern is one of the toughest. There's 1 year within that space of less than 200,000 population, we had 172 homicides. That's just a fact which gives you over 100,000. Remember that. The trauma to the community and the emotional pain is palpable when you get to that level. And when you have that, of course, there is the tendency for retaliation later on, and therefore you have to take your time to reorganize and to restore a lens of emotional stability. But in the raw numbers, that was 64. We are now at 23, which is a remarkable number and a major achievement. And we did it without the kind of, not just fanfare, but what is now popular in Latin America, the buccal system, where a country locked up 10% of the male population. So we did it and retained our democratic process, and in fact, the legal criminal justice system was allowed to work. We'll have differences, but there was a process to respond to where they thought there might have been excessive activity.
Drop asleep.
We look toward the target below 23. In fact, Latin America now is 16. Latin America and the Caribbean, the highest region in the world, and we look toward going below that. We have to therefore continue operation, and then we're not reversing anything, but we'll be introducing new features to scale upwards the things that work so we can reach a wider cross-section of the communities. But we're going to maintain the strength of our policing. The concern by some members of fatal shooting by the police in combat recognize nobody on this side. It's comfortable when we hear any Jamaican dying. We are concerned about murders, and therefore we took strong action to reduce violence and protect and serve our citizens. We are also concerned when law enforcement agencies have to, in fact, implement with fatal shooting.
We have two generations of people. Talk Your Mind TV, I mean, the artist news, artist review, are the baddest TV channel right across the world globe. Watch this, man. Talk Your Mind TV, watching them on them hot up TikTok. Talk Your Mind TV, them are hot up Facebook. Talk Your Mind TV, them are hot up Instagram. Talk Your Mind TV, hot for YouTube. Talk Your Mind TV, all over the globe. From your love, Talk Your Mind TV, but we say God or God. Don't subscribe to Talk Your Mind TV and say God or God. Don't press the like button for Talk Your Mind TV and say God or God. I will say God upon them. I want sister share and like. Talk Your Mind TV. You over there.
Never have been seen this yet. I dare you before my maiden take and I never see it yet.
Please subscribe. Yeah, you pretty, yeah, me please. Me I beg you subscribe. Yes, and you in the city, yeah, we I beg you like. Yeah, touch the share button.